Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. It's such a joy to be here again and to see all you folks. Don't forget to pop into the chat. We love hearing your questions and comments. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but we do. And I know some of you folks are so great at doing that. And I just like to put a reminder out there. But thank you again. And much thanks to United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which, as you just heard, is available on FM as well as all social media platforms. So don't forget, hop in the chat. We love communicating with you. So this topic is one of my favorites, and I'm super excited to be able to share this with you. And of course, our guest is amazing, and I can't wait to share everything about her with you as well. And tonight we're going to be stepping beyond the obvious into the subtle spaces where something begins to feel present. When a familiar home shifts, animals behave as though they're responding to someone or something that you can't see, and a quiet awareness settles in you that you are no longer alone. That gave me chills. I'm sure a lot of us have had that happen. Angel Morgan is an intuitive psychic, an energy worker, and an animal communicator who works with individuals, animals, and a paranormal team or teams to read subtle energy, spirit presence, and environmental imprints. Through raising energy, she focuses her awareness, discernment, and practical understanding, helping people recognize what they are experiencing and respond without fear or sensationalism. With Angel Morgan, we will explore how psychics work alongside paranormal teams to read environments that seem to remember, and also why animals so often sense spirits before humans do, and how to recognize these early signs that a house might be hosting an uninvited guest. More importantly, we're going to be talking about what comes next, how to respond without fear, how to establish boundaries with the unseen, and how understanding what's happening can transform uncertainty into clarity and control. So with that said, welcome, Angel.
Hi, how are you?
Great. It's so good to have you.
I'm excited to be here. I really, really am. I've been so looking forward to this.
Thank you. I love your hair, by the way. It's rocking.
Thank you. Yeah, I love my curls. That's my thing.
They're awesome.
Here knows me, remembers me. It's Angel with the curls.
Right. And your fireplace is really nice. I wish I had one.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually I'm staying with some friends right now because I'm doing some shows in Toronto because, as you know, I'm a media psychic. So I'm working different shows and we're starting our new year great. Can't wait for the year of the horse to come in. And, you know, they've lovingly said, go downstairs, go by the fireplace, do this wonderful. And I thought, okay, let's do it. Normally, behind me, I have a beautiful, these shelving units to have all my skulls and my animals. So next time you'll see that.
Absolutely. And you're going to see me say hello to people. So I have to say hello to Heidi. Much love, my star sister. I absolutely adore her. And yes, she's got gorgeous curls too. So yeah, I mean, everybody with straight hair wants curls and everybody with curls wants straight hair. It's really weird. But anyway, I want you to talk about yourself a little bit. I've seen you in so much on social media, and I was so glad that you agreed to come on. And we're going to be talking about so much today. But before we do, I kind of explained who you are in the intro, but you talk about how you became to be you and in the place that you're at today.
Okay. Well, my journey is incredible journey in that ever since I was a child, I was actually discouraged from doing a lot of this kind of work. When I was very little, I had my first encounter when my auntie passed away, and I could see her in this in between place as I was waking up. And I remember my mother coming up the stairs, and she was sobbing, and she said, "Your Auntie Mary died." And I said, "Yeah, I know, I know." And she says, "No, you don't know." She says, "You saw nothing, you heard nothing." And that kind of left me a little confused. So for the longest time, I would experience all of these things and I would dismiss them. And I became a non-believer. I was one of those people that there had to be a limit somewhere, right? Because this is what I was taught and what I was conditioned to believe. I ended up in Guatemala. And in Guatemala, a medicine person told me that I was going to speak to animals. And of course, being the skeptic and the non-believer that I was, I thought he was on crack. Right. So then I came back to Canada, where I am from, and I, through magical circumstances, ended up in an animal communications class. And I went there to disprove it. I had gone to a healing center, to an opening healing center with a friend of mine. Everybody was signing these kind of binders. And I thought, "Ooh, I'll be polite." And I signed the binder. And I didn't know what I was signing. A week later, I got this email that said, you're coming to an animal communications class. Don't forget. And my friend goes, "Well, are you going?" I'm like, "No." She goes, yeah, you are. So I went to debunk it. And so at the end of that weekend, I was so immersed in what was being shown. And so it had been so proven to me by this amazing teacher that I started my journey. And from there, I found this little store, and they told me as well, they said, "This is what you're going to do for the rest of your life." And I thought, oh, these totally on crack. And I ended up working in that store for 9.5 years.
Wow.
I ended up shadowing them, that owner, and they ended up becoming my family. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here.
Wow.
And then I was fortunate enough to be thrown on stage. Now, you have to understand, I am trained classical actor. That's actually where I started. I owned my own theater companies. So when the two came together, it was like, of course, this is where I belong. Right.
Yeah.
And here I am almost 30 years later, animal communicating and enjoying my life and working with people and working with pets and working with the paranormal and also working with ceremonies from around the world, because I'm also a magical folklorist and historian.
Wonderful. And you have a fellow, see, I told you there's so many people from Canada. That's Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
There's so many people from Canada on this network. It's great.
Nice.
Wow, you have some background and history going on there.
So do you?
Yeah. Do you actually communicate with those that have passed on? Like, do you do readings for folks and stuff like that? Like, what are your services like?
So I'm what's known as a realm walker. So I do work with people. I also work with pets. I do Akashic Records readings. I do
Nice.
1 hour readings, 45, mediumship, animal communications, grief sessions for animals. So I work a lot with animal families who, are going through that transition process. I help them through that transition process and even afterwards. And it's really, really rewarding to be able to work with that. And I work with people as well in those circumstances, but with pets, I definitely seem to have found my groove that way. I like dead things. What can you say? I like dead things. You're in New Orleans. You get it.
Well, I'm actually in Pennsylvania, but the owner of the network is from New Orleans.
Oh, okay, so she'll get it.
Yeah, it's a great place for all that stuff. That's for sure.
It was life-changing when I went there.
Yeah.
That really showed me who I was and where I belonged. And it was such a unique experience. And I'm actually going back this year to speak at their very first Paracon at the New Orleans Paracon.
Wow.
So yeah,
nice.
I'm really fortunate, and I'll be doing this exact seminar.
Oh, wonderful. Now, do you work with specific paranormal teams or just one in particular?
I work with teams from all over the world. And so in New Orleans, the New Orleans Paranormal Society is actually one of my favorite teams to work with. They're awesome. I've worked with teams here, Walking Among Us and Hauntingly Krista. I've also worked, and I know teams from India, teams from England, teams from Ireland. I'm in the process right now of undertaking a really massive project. We're not quite talking about it publicly right now, but it will entail going around the world and working with
Wow.
very specific teams that I'm already handpicking from Japan, from Ireland, from Canada, from the States. Like we're talking Italy. So yeah, I work with a number of people and know, and I'm again blessed enough to be able to bring all of my loves together and work with teams and work with the paranormal and work with the spirits and work with the animal. Like it's overwhelming. It's my 24/7. It's my
Wow.
24/7.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a path.
That's
It's a calling. It's a dedication.
yes, absolutely. It is a calling for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're gonna get into the whole animal thing because that's like so amazing to me. But I was talking to a channeler yesterday. I had him on my show,
Ooh.
and he also writes and talks about the paranormal a lot. And he's of the mindset that we create the paranormal in a sense, like if you sense an entity in your space and it's negative and demonic, that comes from internal consciousness and from like our energy field that we're creating. And I don't necessarily buy that, but I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Well, because I started from a place of non-belief, I've spoken to many skeptics and I've spoken to many people on many different paths. And for me, the only limitation we have are the ones that we place on ourselves. So
Mm.
my take on that is that he is correct. And there are other ways of thinking about it too. Yes, there
Right.
are certain circumstances under which we are creating those manifestations. So I've
Mm.
worked many times with people like when I worked with my first paranormal team, we had a list of questions that we would ask people. You know, are you on medications? What's actually happening?
Yes.
Because sometimes people actually want it to be happening and they
Yeah.
create these circumstances for themselves. There's a demon in my home, or I'm being haunted.
Right.
And a lot of people are haunted. A lot of
Mm.
people, they have their own demons to work with. And some of
Yeah.
these things become personified for them, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's different circumstances. But for me, having experienced the things I've experienced and having connected with other people who have had these experiences, and sometimes validate that for me, always really, I do believe there's something more than just self manifestation, than just the subconscious mind, right?
Mhm.
And I do work with and know very dearly profilers,
Yeah.
criminologists, mentalists. And so I really admire them because they're able to go into that subconscious mind of the human being. And you know,
Mhm.
I know one very particularly where people think he is psychic, but he will say, I am not psychic. Everything for me comes from logic and science. So all of these things are correct. For me, the bottom line is this: as long as at the end of the day, we're doing the work we need to do, and there is a healing that has occurred, a closure that's occurred, or we've helped someone along their path, that's the whole purpose. So
Oh
I
yeah.
really do believe what he says is correct. And I do believe that what you believe and what I believe are also a correct way of thinking, because there are many facets. There isn't just one way of working with energy. It's energy. It's limitless divine,
Exactly.
right?
I feel spot on with what you just said. And I have interviewed this gentleman named Jerry Marzinski. He's very famous psychologist, and he worked in mental institutions for decades with schizophrenic patients.
Mhm.
And he wrote binders about how 90% of these voices are demonic.
Okay, so this is really interesting because the very first time I worked with someone who was schizophrenic, I was dumb enough to do it alone. And I had him on the table. And I was actually going to mention that. So I'm so glad you brought it up. And I remember while I was working with him, presences began to come. And I was just like, what is going on here? And I
Mm.
literally, that was one of the first times where I had to do a removal. And so there were three particular entities, and one of them was a very large entity, or a higher level energy and entity.
Mm.
And what was really interesting was after that, I started to realize, because when he went back to his doctors, they were saying that his level of schizophrenia had decreased. And I went,
Oh,
wow. And I started putting it two and two together, that some of the things that we, even bipolar, those certain things are actually attachments. So we call them
yes.
attachments. So when we detach these things, all of a sudden we are within our own field again. But there are things out there that do feed on us, that
Oh,
need
yeah.
that fear factor, that need all of those things to survive. And unfortunately, there are those of us who either allow it or have circumstances around us
Yeah.
that create it for us. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
totally agree with that psychologist. I've experienced it.
It's crazy. I believe that there is a realm or other realms where there
Mhm.
are demonic entities that do reside, and they love to feed off of the loosh of our energy, and that's how they survive. I mean, think about it. When we get negative thoughts, and sometimes you'll be like, where did that come from? That's not me. Like, why would I think such a thing? And I've spoken to so many people, Angel, that have had that same experience, and they know that it's a force, an external force
Well, if we
trying to, yeah.
And that's the thing. If we have forces that are angelic who are guiding us every day,
Yes,
if we're hearing those thoughts as well and those experiences,
exactly.
why wouldn't there be another side to it? Now, having said
Absolutely.
that, I used to be one of those investigators, hunters, because I that was my thing. Is I was a hunter. There's a difference between an investigator and a hunter, and I have many friends who are unique, and I have some friends who are exorcists. And one of them is a Romanian exorcist. He's one of my dearest, close, I just love him. And so he taught me that not all demonic presences, not all demons
Mm,
are here to create chaos. Some of them are actually here for redemption. Right. Some of them. So, what he does and what he's taught me to do is every time I come up against a lower energy of any kind, whether it's demonic or not, I will give them a choice. I can cross you over. I can help you. I can call in my spirit here. I can call in Michael, Raphael, da 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 da, and I can help you with your process. I can help you defect, so to speak, or I'm gonna put you down. You pick.
yeah.
But I will always give the choice. And I know there are some people who won't agree with that, and that's okay. I respect that. There are some people who believe, no, it's a lower energy, it's a demon, get rid of it. That's their style, that's their way. I respect that. But these are the things I've been taught, because I've always believed that everything is, being a Gemini, everything is dual, right? If
Yeah.
there is, the Christian way of thinking, good and evil, good and bad, there has to be light and dark, angelic, demonic. There also has to be that moment of grace, right?
Yeah.
And I believe
Absolutely.
grace. Right. So yeah, you're right. When we hear, those wonderful things that can happen, we can also hear those other things. Have I ever
Absolutely.
experienced a psychic attack, and do I feel those are different than feeders? Yeah, absolutely. So psychic attacks, when you talk about feeders and attachments, we're talking about spirits and entities. But when we're talking about psychic attacks, usually that's human on human. Right.
Mm,
If I'm being attacked by, like, okay, so give you an example. I was working with this woman long time ago, when I was working in the healing arts in this capacity. And when she was young, her parents were involved with satanic cults that were darker, on the darker side. And so anyway, as I was working, I could feel these presences still wanting to be there. And ironically enough, it was my cat that became my eyes, because as I was working on her, I could feel myself being drawn down. I could feel myself not being able to focus, doubting myself, the
mm,
insecurities. I was being attacked, and my cat was scratching at the door, and I let the cat in, and all of a sudden the cat started and I could hear the cat, and the cat's like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. And I'm like, okay. And we were able to get through the session successfully. So have I been attacked before? Absolutely. It's experience and practice and awareness that allows us to learn how to deal with those moments. And are they different? Yeah, again, for me, and again, it might be different for another investigator, hunter, psychic, energetic. But for me, a psychic
mm.
attack is usually human on human from distance.
Yeah.
A psychic attack could be, someone throwing Molocchio at you, right? Molocchio Italian, it's the evil eye.
Yeah.
right? So, but when we talk
Yeah, I
about,
grew up with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
are you Italian?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Maltese. Kojima.
Ah, Calibre. It's funny when people see my last name, they just know that it's Italian, but that's my married name, of course. But I grew up in an Italian neighborhood too, so it was, everything was Italian. But
Yeah,
that's right. We would always we wore horns to protect us from the Maloikia. I mean, that's the way
exactly.
that, yeah, that it
And
went.
even I wear one. My friend, she's Sleganona. She's beautiful. In fact, this is her house. She gifted me with this. I love the Avengers. So she found an evil eye and it's Doctor Strange.
Oh,
So I
nice.
just thought it was so
Oh,
cool.
nice.
But I wear that, like I'm not, for me, whether you protect yourself energetically or you carry talisman, either or are great. Like you'll see, I don't wear a lot of stuff, but I do believe that whatever works for you in protecting yourself, that's next level. It just levels you up a little bit. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things I do almost daily, or if not daily, is I ground myself and I always picture myself in like a golden dome protected bubble because I think a lot of psychic attacks too are not intentional. It could be someone just being jealous or envious of you or talking crap about you, and I think that you have to, make a point of protecting yourself every day from those kind of things too, right?
Honestly, my mom, she, if I would tell her something good that happened to me within 3 days, it would fall apart. And it
Yeah.
was a very, very interesting experience to recognize as I was on this path that it was in my own family and
Oh,
that she
wow.
would do it unwittingly. Right. And this was in a conversation I would have with other family members. And we're like, oh, we're starting to put two and two together. So it can be people close to you, but I agree with that.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing how many people out there are walking around throwing stuff at each. I could tell you a hilarious
Yes.
story. My son was a little boy and I had this garden in my home, like it was a plant area, and my dog kept eating the plants. And one day I saw him, he was really little, and he was like, I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, Mommy, I'm protecting the garden. And the dog never went near it again. So I thought to myself, I will teach him how to use energy balls. And I taught him how to use energy balls and all this kind of stuff. And then I had to take him to babysitting. So I took him to the babysitter that day. That night, when I came back, and this was a great babysitter, was always calm, organized, or she was. And I'm walking up the driveway and I'm hearing kids and I'm hearing all this stuff. And I'm like, what the hell? So I get to the door, I open it, and she's sitting on the chair. Her hair is disheveled. There are kids running around. They might as well be hanging from the chandelier.
Oh my
They're like,
God.
I don't know. And she looks at me, she goes, did you by any chance teach Joseph how to use something called an energy ball? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes,
Oh
yeah,
God.
they've been throwing them at them she goes, they've been throwing these at each other all day. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That was my
Oh
learning.
my
Safety,
God.
safety, safety. I should have taught him how to ground it. When you take the ball, you put it away, right? When you
Right.
take the ball, you get rid of it. So my
Right.
reality is that's a perfect example of innocence. People are playing with energy all the time.
Yes.
We just
Yes.
don't realize it. And those children, they were throwing these things in fun, enjoying each other, not realizing how it was affecting each other.
Oh, that's hysterical,
Yeah, that's a
honestly.
microcosm of a macrocosm, right? That's a small story that really shows what the world is like energetically. That is what we are. We're children throwing energy balls at each other, not even realizing it.
Yeah. And you really have to protect yourself. Heidi goes on to say she's experienced psychic attacks
Yeah.
from what she feels are energies, spirits, entities. Like, so what's your best advice for protecting yourself from these things?
So a lot of different things, and I want to address that. Yeah, you can if you're, let's say you're on location. Okay, that's a different kind of psychic attack, and a ghost attacks you, right? Like you are pushed or that kind of thing. That can also be considered a psychic attack or a paranormal attack
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
predatory attack, a poltergeist attack, what have you. So those physical things can happen as well. How do we protect ourselves from them? Well, again, talisman are really great. Whenever I'm with a team, I also have symbols and sigils that I'll place within them before we go in.
Mm,
So I like
smart.
working with sigils. I like working with symbols. You can draw them like, like runes
Yes.
are fantastic, a protection rune. Place it in your pocket. Intention is everything. So that's one level. The other way of protecting yourself, and I think the best two ways of protecting yourself. The first way would be to be aware, right? If you're going to go on location to an investigation, if you're going to live in a haunted home, be aware of your surroundings. Like, I know a lot of people, because television's everywhere now. People go into these haunted locations alone, and then they don't understand that these things can affect them. They can come home with them. They can be
Yeah.
attacked by, they can get hurt. They can actually physically get hurt. So being aware of what's going on is really important. So one
Yeah.
of the teams that I was on, I teach protections and I teach defense. It's one of my specialties, one of my skills. So I actually teach teams how to protect themselves and defend
Oh,
themselves.
brilliant.
And one of my biggest thing is that if you're on a team, you have each other's back, right? You're all
Yes.
aware and you're on the same page. You never go into a room, into a location alone. You never do things alone. You're always aware of each other because you know each other and get to know each other. We
Yeah.
used to do, on the first team I was on, we used to do team building excursions to get to know each other. So when we're on location, hey, that's not Angel. That's not how she usually acts. Right? Something's going on with her. So there was one, I actually wasn't on this particular investigation, but my friend was a nurse and they went into this old age home and there was a doctor, a spirit of a doctor there who didn't like nurses. He just wanted to keep them in their place. And so
Uh,
he was trying to channel through her because she was also a medium, and she was getting really angry and she was like literally almost pulling tables up and everything. And the team captain went over to her and put his foot down and went, "That's it, enough, out now." So sometimes it's a matter of taking command and being, you know what? This is my space. This is my boundary. This is who I am.
right.
Right? Having someone on the team who is an energetic healer or specializes in removals is also amazing. Right.
Mhm.
So there was one where he had something that was placed in his back.
Yeah.
I saw that I turned to him, I said, "What's going on with your shoulder?" He goes, "It just really hurts." And I went over, it
Mm.
was like it had a hook, and I took the hook,
Oh,
right? So you can have, like, when you're working on a team, you have different people who have different specialties, and really enhancing those specialties makes the team stronger. And it's
yeah.
no coincidence that you have the people on your team that you have. Right now, if you live in a haunted house, that's a little bit different. If you live in a haunted house and you're being attacked, one of the first things you want to do is go, "Listen, this is my home. You don't have
Mm.
it right here. This is my home." One of the things that I teach is I don't work for spirit and spirit doesn't work for me. We work together. I'm the channel. They need me as much as I need them or want them. So the reality is if this is my space, I am
Mm.
allowed to claim that space. Okay. The other thing that you can do is light a little candle, little white candle. Okay.
Yeah.
You light that candle and you ask the spirit to come through and you say, "Listen, who are you? What is it that you need? Is there a way I can help you with that?" Okay. That's probably the first thing I would do, right? Because you want to talk to them. It's like a child. You sit down, you talk to them. What's going on? Can I help you in some way? If that doesn't work, then you become commanding and you go out. If that second level doesn't work, then it's time to call in a team, call in some help. And the best thing you can do is even go to a metaphysical store. Metaphysical stores, the people who own them are usually incredibly knowledgeable about these things and can help the process as well. They can either give you candles or they can bring people
Yeah.
in. So metaphysical stores are really great too. So those are a few things that you can do. Number one, talk to them if you can, right? Take a little white candle, but make sure once you've talked, I mean, it's a little more detailed than that. Once you've talked to them, you release them. Thank you. Hang up the phone. Right?
Right. Right.
Right?
Very
You
important.
want to do that. Yeah. You light the little candle, you ask them to come through, you feel them there, you have that conversation, have the imaginary conversation, knowing it's not imaginary, and then you release them and let them go. If it continues, you put your foot down. And then the third step is, yeah, time to get some help.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a question for you that concerns me. Heidi also said she loves sigils and runes.
Right.
Most of us do, but I have a problem with sources of where I get them from. I
Mhm.
hesitate where to get sigils, because I like sigils myself. And we all do, whether they come in the form of jewelry or written. But where can we trust to get a good sigil from?
I mean, honestly, I have a few books that I really trust that I like, and I'm sorry I'm not in my office right now because I would show them to you because they're right there. Um, Honestly, my take has always been, if it's something you really love to work with, find people who work with them. Find people you trust, right?
Yeah,
I've been on YouTube and I found a few people that I really, really like, and read. Become knowledgeable, right? When you read, when you study, then you'll start to be able to discern, this is real, this is not, this is what the history.
yeah,
When I started on this path, my thing wasn't to jump into spell work. My thing was is I started reading about the craft and what it was, understanding what the craft was. And then spell work was almost a secondary thing because it was a way to connect to nature. Right. And then from connecting to nature, you learn to manifest. Again, it's always levels for me. So if you really love sigils, if you really love runes and things like that, learn about the history and the mythologies behind them first, because they talk about the Futhark, right? The Edda talks about it and all the songs of the different runes and Odin and all of those different things. And Allfather, there are different sets of runes that you can be using. Some people use the Futhark, some people use the Elders, some people don't. Some people use the younger, I think they call it the younger Futhark. I can't even remember right now. And then on top of that, we also have to you also have to remember too, that there are many different styles in alphabets, right? You have the Enochian alphabet, and you have the angelic realm, and you have all of these different things. So you might start with runes, but you might turn and go, I love this. One thing's going to lead you to another, to another. But my take on this would be, start with the histories, start with the basics before you jump in. Like, you don't want to start working with rune staves before you understand what a rune is.
exactly. That's such great advice. Hi, Michelle. So good to see you, dear friend. That is excellent advice. I really like that. So, um, what if you don't live in a haunted house? Because I've had people that this has happened to. And then all of a sudden, whether they experienced a loss of a loved one or just out of nowhere, like for instance, I know someone that went to a cemetery and they inadvertently took a guest home with them from there.
Yeah.
And they had a big problem trying to tell this. I know you said stand your ground,
Yeah.
but what if that happens to you and you can't get rid of them? Like no matter what, you
Okay, so
try.
that's where you reach out. That's where you start
Right.
reaching out to the experts. Now, having said that, let's even add another layer to all of this. If you have an animal, the
Yeah.
animal can assist. So cats, absolutely astounding creatures when it comes to this.
Yes.
Because if you have a cat in the house, they're going to start responding to it. If you have a dog in the house, they will start
Yeah.
responding to it. I myself have cats and dogs and snakes, and
Oh.
reptiles will also respond to this. So I
Oh.
had a home once, and I wasn't really on this path at the time,
Yeah.
and I was in a home once, so I knew very little of this, and there was this woman who came to the door. She was at the end on the threshold of my home. She didn't step over it. And her
Oh.
head was cocked to the side. And she was a woman of Jamaican descent, because I lived in the Jamaican area. And her head was cocked to the side and she was ashen. And she asked me, and she said and my dog and my cat were beside me. And my dog, who was always so peaceful, his hair was up. And my cat was
Mm.
a little bit. And I took, again, awareness. I took note of what was going on. And I looked at her and I said, can I help you? And she goes, I'm looking for a place to live. And at the time we were renovating our basement, but nobody knew that. And I said to her, I said, something, I wasn't even on this path, but something told me to say this. And I said, I'm sorry, we have no room at the inn. There's no room at the inn today. And she looked at me,
Wow.
and then she tilted her head the other way like this, and it fell. And she went, thank you. And then she turned around and she walked away. And I went down the steps and I turned the corner, and there was no way she could have gotten away that. And she was gone. She was gone. So I went back to the house, and the dog and the cat, who had been at this point growling and hissing, calmed right down. And I was just like,
Wow.
what just happened here? And as I became more and more on this path, I started to
Mm,
realize, I went back on that story and I went, wow, they were not only responding, they were trying to talk to me. They were
yeah.
trying to tell me, you know. And when you have a haunted house and nothing else is working, and even the animals are responding, because that's another thing. When you have a haunting like that, you can start getting really sick. You'll see people in the house. So
Yes.
keynotes of things happening. You start feeling really dizzy and sick. You can't focus.
Yeah.
People in the house are acting odd. All of a sudden, there are arguments where there are never arguments. The animals are acting strange. These kinds of things can be keynotes. They're not always keynotes of that, but if you know there's a haunting and these things are happening, then yeah. Now, how the other thing too is sometimes you'll have a peaceful home and all of a sudden this will begin to happen. Look around. What'd you bring into the house? Who just got a new antique? Who was just
Wow.
given a gift? Right? There's also that kind of stuff too. But if there's nothing you can do, you yourself, again, reach out. That's the best thing to do, because we only have so much. Even me, I've been doing this almost 30 years, but don't think for a second that if I run into trouble, there are people I can't reach out to. I don't. The other thing is, you can't work in isolation. You cannot work in isolation. You are not the be all end all. I don't care how gifted a psychic you are, how gifted a witch you
Yeah.
are, how gifted a healer you are, how gifted an exorcist you are. That's just ridiculous. So for me, I have a team of people that I work with, friends that I work with, whether they're exorcists or witch doctors or healers or other psychics. Sometimes we get too close to our own stuff. So you have to reach out. Right. So in this particular case, yeah, if you get to that point of, oh my God, I don't know what to do, my house is being in complete chaos, it's time to call someone in. Go to a metaphysical store. A lot of times they'll have people they can put you onto, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's
And
true.
again, a lot of people like me now too work very shamanically, and we work distance. So even in
Mm,
the States, I've done removals in France, in England, in America. I've done them in Malta. I've done them everywhere. And I work the old ways. So for me, doing removals distance, I use a pendulum, right? And my
ah,
pendulum is everything to me. I've cleared buildings, I've cleared homes, I've cleared spirits, I've cleared people.
wow.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite ways to work. So we all have our different ways of working, but there's
Yeah,
always someone out there. Now, how do you find someone you can trust?
right.
That's the kicker. That's the thing that I think is my biggest concern with people out there right now. That is, if you ask me what I have a concern with in our world right now, is finding people who are the real deal.
Exactly.
Because everybody and their brother now can go take a
Yep.
weekend course in shamanism.
Correct.
Apparently there's even a certificate somebody is giving for
Yeah.
being a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
It's really, my thing is referrals.
Yeah.
Make sure, number one, referral. Number two, how much are they charging? Go check what the going rates are, right? If
Right.
someone says to you, I am the only one who can remove your curse, run.
Exactly.
Run.
Well,
Because
the internet created all these tarot card readers and all these psychics, and you can't go on Instagram without somebody messaging you to do a freaking
right.
reading or something. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
But that's such a great point, Angel. And that's what I meant about the sigil thing too, because you can't just pop on some website and they go, oh, these sigils mean this and these runes mean, you really, that's why I loved what you said. You need to do the research
Yeah.
and validate. And I also wanted to get to, I think it was
There's a
Michelle.
lot of theory that goes with
Yeah,
this work. Like it's like university.
absolutely. Absolutely. Michelle made a good point. She said, yes, she has cats and dogs. A cat's very curious and receptive, but her dog is not. And I think, like, I own a dog that I rescued. I adopt all rescued animals that, were treated terribly. And I think maybe, Michelle, you should, and we'll of course let Angel speak to this, but I'm thinking maybe it's a good idea to like read your dog. Maybe he's got subtle signs. I don't know.
Mm.
What would you say to that, Angel?
I
So a
agree with that
dog,
100% because like humans, we all register things differently.
right,
But my biggest thing with animals, like humans, we're all in different vibes. So if you
right.
get two psychics in a haunted home or doing a reading on someone, because I love working with other psychics. I love it
Oh,
because we
yeah.
fill in the blanks. We're all on different vibes. So what I get about a person and what their father is saying, let's say I can tap into the illness and how the father died. Maybe someone
Right.
can tap into what their relationship was, right? So we can fill in the blanks. So like a cat and dog, it has nothing to do with cat or dog. It has to do with the individual. Okay.
Right.
We're not talking about species. We're talking about the individual. That cat might be more receptive to perhaps lower energies. Whereas
Mm,
the dog might, if there was an angel in the house, be receptive to that. And the cat be like, yeah, dude,
right.
no, I'm going to go to your room right now. Right.
Yeah.
So the reality for me is that, like, look, I had one cat, an orange cat, soulless ginger. He was awesome. He was a healer. And whenever I did healing work or there were healing energies, he was there. But that
Yeah.
other cat I was telling you about, Apple, he was all about lower energies. And whenever
Mm,
there was a lower energy around, the ginger was nowhere to be seen. He was just like, dude, I'm not doing this. But
yeah.
Apple, he was right there. Right. So it could also be for Michelle that you just have two different vibes. But that's fantastic for you, Michelle, because
Mm,
that means they can be different sets of eyes for you. Right. They're different aspects of who you are. Remember that animals come to us because they're different aspects of who we are. Right. And your dog
that's
is
such a
so cute.
great point.
Her dog is really cute though. Her dog is more kind of submissive and Gary's kind of Scooby-Doo like. It's like, oh, I don't know if I want to deal. Where the cat's going, dude, come on, let's go. Right. So that's the personalities that I can feel right now. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you tap into like the field, like especially through video, like
Mhm.
when you do animal readings, do you just sense it through the human and then tap into the animal? How does that work,
You're the
Angel?
first person to like pin that right on the nose. So, yeah, think of yourself. I'm a biocomputer and you're a biocomputer. And
Right.
our networks connect, right? So I download all my information, you download all your information. Only difference is I can read it. So a lot of people will say, do you need a picture? Do you need the animal to be there? No, because I can tap into your animal through your love, through you. Right. And on the reverse, I can tap into you through your animal, right?
Yeah.
Because it's symbiotic. And what's really, really interesting is that because we're biocomputers and we're connecting all the time, it's not just the animal who's present that we connect to. We have lineage animals, right? We have animals that we've had. So in my readings, I don't charge per pet. A lot of animal communicators will charge per pet. I will
Yeah.
charge per session because
Mm.
animals from past lives could come through. Animals for
Ah,
your
that's a
family could
great
come
point.
through. When you were little, a lot of people go, "Oh no, I don't." I'll say to them, "Oh, do you have a cat who's passed out?" "No, I don't." I'm like, "No, no, no. When you were little, oh yeah, but that was so long ago." "Yeah, dude, that cat's here." Right.
Ah,
So all of these animals for me will come through. And to next level it or up level it, I'm a little different than a lot of animal communicators. Sorry if I'm going really fast. I'm so excited to be here.
oh no, go,
Um,
go, girl.
the what's different with me too is that I can tap into animal spirits. So
Yeah.
I can see your animal spirit. I can see your power animal. I can see your guides and your guardians that are animal. And that actually helps me again on investigations and haunts because when I'm in a specific location, I'm not just depending on the human spirits. I'm not tapping in just on the human spirits. I'm tapping in the animals who have crossed over in that house, which are highly neglected. But I'm also calling on animal energies
Yeah.
to work with me in whatever. So if I'm in a situation where there's a lot, like let's say an asylum, okay, an asylum is
Yeah.
a perfect one. I'm going to call on, for me, these are the animals I like to work with, is the gorilla medicine, and I like to work with the snake medicine. Snake, it's an asylum. So snake is the healer, but it can walk both worlds. It's incredibly liminal, and you're able to release things in order to step into your new skins, which is a lot of times why we're there, is to heal something. But the
Yeah.
gorilla gives me the strength and the courage to actually go.
Oh, wow.
Because the gorilla and the rhinoceros are usually those are symbols for people in the military, police, all that kind of stuff. Like when I see those symbols, I know these people are warrior soldiers of some
Sure.
sort. And that might be
Yeah.
different for somebody else. This is for me and how they come to me. So if I need that courage, if I need that of the gorilla, I'm going to
Yeah.
energy to go. Because going to an asylum, don't kid yourself. Don't think for a second, I don't get scared. Sure, I do. I'm human, right? The creep factor is
Absolutely.
back for me too. And that's part of the fun too. There is an adrenaline rush to it. Don't think I
Yeah.
don't think it's a fun thing to do. It is. But when I go in, there's always meaning. I will never take on a case where I don't think I can be useful in some way. I'm not just there to poke the ghost.
Nice. Do you actually see these entities in like a corporeal form, or do you just sense their energy? Because I've spoken to psychics that have done both. Some don't see them, and some just sense the energy field, or can tap into that. What's that like for you?
Before we continue, I have to say thank you so much. These questions are phenomenal. This is an
Oh,
amazing interview. I really appreciate you.
thank
And on
you.
behalf of every one of your guests who've been on here, thank you so much for doing this. Okay.
Oh, we love you. Thank you.
So yeah, where that's concerned, it depends on the situation. It's situational for me. So a lot of times with my abilities, I'm also piggybacking my client. So if my client is visual and they can see, my sight will increase. If they're auditorial, right, they're clairaudient, my sense of hearing, that's how I'll know. I'll look at someone, I'll go, hey, do you usually hear things when they're not there? And like, how did you know? Because my clairaudience has now increased. And if it's increased,
Right.
I know the person in front of me is. My son can see spirits the way I see you. Okay. And he sees more dark energies
Wow.
and entities. Oh, I got story upon story. And so anyway, when I'm around him, we kind of work together. We work, like I can see it in my third eye, which is where I mostly see it. But if I'm with him, it tends to be more of an apparition. Whereas for him, it's very, very tangible.
Wow.
For me, it becomes tangible based on the location, the people, the sort. Like if a ghost in life was visual, I will see them. I'm always working through the abilities of the circumstance.
That makes so much sense. What's your lineage like? I'm sure you looked into it.
Oh yeah. So, so for a very, very long time, I really didn't understand. I felt very outside of everything. My mother's side of the family, there were a couple of people, like in Malta after the war, they would take one of my aunts to some of the ruins or the places they would think were haunted. And if she played with the children there, they would bring in the priest, they would do the blessing, and all that kind of stuff. And we have had people who've had dreams and things like that, but it's a very kind of low level. We weren't really allowed to be around my dad's side of the family a lot, so I didn't get to know them. But when I became an adult and I started hanging out with my cousins on my dad's side, it was like, oh my God, familia, because they all of a sudden, wow, they saw, they felt, they knew, and they were
Yeah.
having the same experiences I did. And I'm like, oh
Wow.
my God, this is working. And my dad had dropped hints about this
Yeah.
all my
Yeah.
life. I just didn't make the connection. And so he just passed June 2025. And
Mm.
in my dad's fashion and style and joie,
Yeah.
guy was so awesome. He died on the only Friday the 13th in 2025.
Oh,
June 13th,
gee.
2025, right? Which was awesome. It was almost like he was telling me, yeah, this is who we are.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I have looked into, and I'm a Maltese woman. I'm born in Canada, I'm raised in Canada, but I'm also very much a Maltese woman. So that's actually how I truly began, when I started wanting to understand who I was more
Yeah.
in that lineage. And I
That's why I
started,
asked you that, because typically it seems that way. I have to say hi to Liebercast. Bonsoir, Liebercast. I have to have you back on the show. I will be in touch. He was one of our guests.
oh,
Phenomenal.
nice, right on.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, in Malta, they actually have the temples of Tarshin, and they're the 28 temples. And in these temples, they were fertility worshiping. And so a
Oh,
lot of people
wow.
believe, the archaeologists believe, like this is like 30, 40 years, 30 some odd years ago now,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
discovered that a lot of the goddess worshiping cultures also emanated from Malta, because of those temples. And what's really, really cool is that before the people who are on the island now, there was a group of people and there was some sort of mass exodus. And there wasn't anyone on that island for about 2,000 years before it started to become populated again. And nobody really knows about who those people were. But the temples
Right.
there. And we have all of the, like, if you want to go to Disney World, go to Florida. But if you want an archaeological Disney World, go to Malta.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the
Never
magic
knew
is
that.
incredible. But having said that, Malta also has its dark period where Wicca and paganism, pagan bashing was really, really high at certain points. Like in the late 80s, in the 90s, there was a lot of that kind of stuff happening. And a lot of different things happened to kind of waylay that. I don't know what it's quite like now, but I
Yeah.
know it's like when I started on the path. So it's a very interesting culture. And I'm very proud to be part of its magical history.
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. I just sensed that you had a deep lineage involved in what made you who you are today. So that's nice to hear.
Yeah, it turns out I do.
So does the manager of this network, whom I'm going to introduce you to,
I
because
would love to know.
you two are going to hit it off in a huge way. We'll talk about that later, though. But it's so interesting to me because I wanted to just touch upon the topic of witches a little bit. Because I adore them. I'm not a witch. Well, at least not a practicing one.
I was just going to
Not,
say, are you
I
sure?
know. Past life, for sure.
But
Past
remember,
life,
past lives are still in our genetics. So,
absolutely.
a friend of mine, she's a bruja. She's Cuban. And she said to me, she goes, the minute you are blessed to be a witch in any lifetime, you are cursed to be a witch in every lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. So
I believe that. I do.
It's who we are.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, I don't say like I'm a practicing witch, but my soul definitely is. But I wanted to touch upon that because I always feel bad for the rap that witches have gotten and still get. And I want to try to demystify and get you. I know you recently or not recently have admitted or feel comfortable saying that you're a witch, right? So I want to get your perspective on that whole thing.
Well, it's really interesting. It's not even that I've not been comfortable saying I'm witch. I mean, that's where I basically learned was in a witch store shadowing witches. So I was always very open about it. But in the same token, I've always been a very private, very quiet person with my work. And so I've always felt like, again, being a Gemini, I had this dual life where out here I was a psychic and I was on stage and I was doing this, but my witchcraft was mine. Right. It was mine. And I would hold ceremony and people would come to my ceremonies and we'd do the work, but everything was all in the quiet. And then I met Sahas Chopra last year and we did a podcast and it started to come out naturally. And I started to realize I needed to share this. I needed to demystify, as you say. And it's so very true. And for me too, you asked, what is witchcraft really? The definition of witches, a witch is wise woman healer. That is what we are. So you say that, I have that deep knowing of who I am, even though I don't practice it. Sure you do. You practice it every day. Every time you say hello to a tree, every time you plant a garden, every time you pet an animal and you say good morning to it, every time you go to the cemetery and you talk to the dead, you are a wise woman healer, and therefore you are a witch.
That is the best explanation that I've heard. And I've had many witches on my show. That is the best because it's so true. It's so freaking true. Like I don't walk my dog unless it's snowing and horrible out without touching a tree and just connecting with nature. I have plants downstairs. I talk to them every day. I mean, that is
not a witch. You've got to identify which kind you are. That's it. Like, are you a kitchen witch? Are you an eclectic? Are you? And there are many labels, right? So pick one.
We have a wonderful person with us today, Hillbilly Herb. Everybody loves his name. So yeah, he's got a lot going on, Hillbilly Herb. So he said he's been called a witch more than once. I'd love to have him on my show because some of the comments and things he says blow me away. But yeah, a witch. Okay, so Carrie says a witch is an alchemist. We are all alchemists working with elements daily. It's with that energy, intention of energy and that's so true. And that's why I was raised a Catholic, and I always talk about that because I went through hell going to Catholic schools. But we were always told that witchcraft is evil. you can't partake in that. And don't, if you know anybody, you can't talk to them, and it's wicked and satanic and evil. So, like, I remember when I was newly married decades ago, my husband has passed now, but
I'm sorry.
I made friends with a group of pagans, and I had a basement area, and I would invite them over, and they would drum, and we would have like a great time. And the neighbors actually reported me to the freaking police. Not kidding you. This was in my basement. But the moral of that is that, maybe today they wouldn't do that because I think society has progressed a little bit.
Absolutely.
But that scared the bejeebus out of me that somebody would think to call the cops. I mean,
it's an interesting thing in the States as well, because this is something I just recently found out that absolutely blew my mind, that if you tarot read in a store in certain states, it's actually illegal and you can be fined. And to my brain, I don't understand that, because this is a part of who we are, and it's a freedom, right? This is as important as a freedom of speech. This is freedom of spirituality, freedom of religion, whatever you want to call it. And I find that really, really interesting that there's still a little bit of that mentality. But you have amazing people in the States, in Canada, who are fighting for the rights. Here we have the Wiccan Church of Canada. There, you have people like, oh my God, I'm totally blanking on his name right now, but he's just so incredible. But you have so many people who are actually fighting for the rights of the craft and for energetics and for all of these different things. But yeah, you're right. It is far more open now than, let's say, in the 70s or the 80s. It's accepted. It's funny. I have a second home. I have a home in Toronto, and I have a home in Brockville near Ottawa. And in Canada, I have realized that Vancouver is our city. That's where our healers are. That's where the hippies belong. In Toronto, this is where the psychics and seers are. You see a lot of them. But in around Ottawa area, especially in Brockville, which is so beautiful, it's on the St. Lawrence River. Almost everyone there is tied into witchcraft somehow. It's
wow.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Never knew that.
Yeah, you walk down the street, people are wearing, I'm a witch, we are the daughter, we are the granddaughters of the witches you couldn't burn. And people are just so open about the topic. And it's so incredible. It's incredible.
Does the government leave you guys alone with it?
They don't care.
That's good.
That's good. It's a very interesting thing, because for us, I find, especially at Halloween, it's a high time. More and more, like, people are going to seance events. People, like, there is a gentleman in Toronto. His name is James White, and he has the James White seance. He's been doing it for 10 years, and it's a huge event that people absolutely love. And we're seeing more and more of those things pop up. Normal teams are doing more open events. Like 2 years ago, we were at the CNE, and we were a paranormal investigations team. We did a full weekend. People could come. We tapped into the ghosts of the Horse Palace, which was the last deployment center in World War II. We tapped into the animals, the nurses, the soldiers, all of these things. So this is becoming a huge thing here.
Wow, that's great to hear.
They leave us alone. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. And I wanted to, Hillbilly mentioned that he got hit with some bad panic attacks in his comments. And, he's such a gifted person. And I just want to say to him that we were talking about spiritual attacks earlier. I don't know if you were here for that, Hillbilly, but I think Angel made some great points. You might want to check out what she said. Because panic attacks, lots of times, and Angel, you can give me your perceptions of this. I found that panic attacks were really lots of times spiritual attacks too.
They can be. Yeah, they can be. And again, you got to look for the keynotes that go with it, right? So when you're having a panic attack, usually on a physical level, if you breathe, if you calm, panic attacks are fear of the future, right? When we have kinds of things, anxiety, that's a fear of the future and not the unknown that's coming. But when you're having a spiritual attack, you will feel that in your head. You will feel the nausea that comes with it. You will feel different things happening. Like there are certain things that you look for that will tell you panic attack, psychic attack, right? And again, some of these things are just experience that you have to know no, like it does feel like a spiritual attack.
Yeah.
Right. So again, it's digging a little deeper. Now, if you are not within this world and you do question whether it is or whether it isn't, find people in this world, talk to them, ask them, because a lot of times they can help you discern just by the conversation you have, certain
Yeah.
words that you say, certain things that you're experiencing, and they can help you find that closure. Is it a spiritual attack? Okay, what's our next step? Is it a panic
Right.
attack? Okay, what's your next step? Right? Like
Right.
even for me, again, I don't work in isolation. I have a counselor that is part of my team. I have a
Oh, nice.
psychotherapist who's part of my team. I have a body work person who's a part of my team, because a lot of people who have been through spiritual attacks or been through this kind of thing, they're
Yeah.
holding it in their bodies. So I will send them to my osteopath, who is also a medical intuitive. I will
Oh,
send
nice.
them to the psychiatrist or the neuropsychologist that I know, who is very sensitive to the work that we do. Right?
What's the most challenging case that you've had recently? Like involving maybe someone's home is under attack, something like what did you find really challenging this year or last year?
I don't, last year I had so many experiences. I don't even know. Um, Last year was a really good year. What did I do last? I'm trying to even think of what I did last year. I did so many things.
Was it a good
Oh,
year? Because
I
I,
know.
good. You'll have to tell us, but I'm just concerned after 2020 that people have been having a difficult time, and I'm wondering if that affected people's homes. No, you haven't
No,
encountered
not
that.
really. No, I really haven't. No, I haven't. During that time, during the pandemic and the COVID period, it was mostly animal work that we were doing, because people were
Oh,
getting new animals. Animals were now having people at home, and it was like they didn't
yes,
understand. Maybe it was something I
right,
did. Then their parents, went back to work. Did I do something wrong? So that was
right.
what we were working with. Last year, however, I did do a very particular show. And during the show, Santa Muerte was called in, right? Santa Muerte came in and we had the doors open. She came
Mm.
in and the entire auditorium went down. I actually thought that the lighting, someone was messing with the lighting. And so it was a very interesting thing, because it was a very interesting thing, because I had to manage the audience and the spirit at the same time, because you could
Oh,
see that some people were starting to get a little panicky. Other people were feeling it. Other people were getting scared. So it was one of those things where I actually had to manage the two worlds. And I think that
oh,
was probably the most challenging moment that I had.
yeah.
Other than that, I didn't have any hauntings that were like, I didn't have any hauntings that were like poltergeists or anything to what do they call it, that I couldn't manage.
Oh,
Right.
that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good to know. What do you think of all the ghost shows though? Because like I remember even up to 10 years ago when shows like Ghost Hunters came out and all the big ones, everybody was so into them and I thought it was shining a light on education and helping people understand. And then we started hearing about how a lot of it was fake and the jump scares were staged. And what do you think about that whole thing?
Paranormal shows um, are interesting because they're encouraging people to go out and be curious. So on the one hand, that's a good thing, but
Yeah,
they're encouraging go out and do it, and people don't know how. And that's
right.
the problem I have with these shows. They don't do it safely. When you see these shows, it's about the jump. I've talked to producers. The show has to have a jump. If it
Yes,
doesn't have a jump scare, then the show is not going to sell. So what they're
right.
selling isn't the paranormal investigation, they're selling the jump. And when you
Exactly.
sell the jump, that's what people go, I want that experience. People love to be scared, right? So now
Yes.
you start going and doing this kind of stuff. And now you're disrupting the spirits, disrespecting the spirits, and putting
Yeah.
yourself in danger.
Yeah.
So a lot of these shows will do that. That's my first beef. My second beef is yeah, if you're going to do it well. Because I'm sorry, as an investigator and as a psychic, when I watch some of this stuff, I'm just like, this is painful. This is
Yeah.
so painful.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I'm not crazy about it, which is again when I was talking earlier at the beginning of this, how we have this huge project underway where we're working with teams from all over the world. It's the reason we're going to be doing what we're doing, because we want to show what it's really like to do certain things and to bring certain elements in. And that's a really big thing for me, because everything I do is ceremony. Everything I do has meaning. And when I watch some of these television shows, I feel like they strip the meaning from it.
They do. It's so true. It's
Yeah,
so true.
yeah.
And it's like you said, when they first started, I was like, wow, this is great because they kind of make people less afraid. But you're right. They're after the jump scare. And then the shows just got worse and worse
Yeah, because they
along
knew it
with
worked, right? It's television. Welcome to Hollywood. Welcome to
that.
TV. Welcome to production. And that's fine if that's what they want to do. It's just my concern is always, what are you encouraging? Right.
Yeah.
And that really is a concern. And it's great that people are curious, but if you're going to do it right. If you're really interested in watching these paranormal shows and you really want to do this, go and find a team, go create a team. Again, goes back to go do the research, go do your homework before you step into it. That's all
Yeah.
I'm asking. Right.
Yeah.
If you really love something, then you should be willing to put the time in. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's a
Absolutely.
big thing for me. It really is,
Yeah.
because being on a paranormal team is fun, but it's also work like this again, it's a dedication. It's a path. This is a calling. This isn't just something that you go do and have fun. Yes, there are hobbyists. Okay. There
Right.
are hobbyists
Right.
out there, but even they do the research. Even they do, like a lot of the hobbyists I see, they'll go and do the history of that place. They'll know what they're
Yeah.
walking into. Right. But the common person will go watch certain TV shows and then just go, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that could be dangerous too. That
Yeah,
could definitely be
it
dangerous.
can.
Do you think that social media has helped or hindered this whole thing? I mean, you go on YouTube and everybody's doing paranormal tours and all this ghosty stuff, or is that under the same category, I guess, as TV shows
It's
now,
all the
right?
same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all the
it's
same.
all the same. It's all the same. Sorry. Give me 1 second.
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. Preach
Sorry.
it, she
Yeah,
said.
no, I totally do. Now, having said that, one of the things that I wish they would cover more in television, which they do not, is the animal factor, right? Like
Right.
there are a lot of, I mean, one of the probably most amazing investigations I was ever on. I went into a home and this woman had an attachment. And when you walked in, the other psychic I was working with and we had spent an entire work dreaming about this attachment. When we walked in, she had paintings of it on her wall.
Oh,
It was
wow.
amazing. She had had this attachment since she was 16 years old. So there was a huge story around this particular investigation that I won't go into, but I didn't understand what was happening. There was something missing in this
Mm,
particular investigation, something I wasn't catching. So all of a sudden, I saw there was a dog, a real dog, and I'm like, I need your help. And this dog goes, no, not me. And then all of a sudden he turned around and I saw the spirit of a dog who was there. And this dog had been there. This house was over 150 years old, had lived in this house 150 years before. So it knew the entire history. This dog showed me everything. And right there, I turned to the woman and I said, oh, I see what's going on. And I gave her the story of what was going on. She goes, how did you know that? And I said, the dog told me. She goes, my dog? I said, nope, not yours. And that dog
wow.
helped me through the entire investigation. That was the dog that taught me that I could work with animals on investigations. In the horse palace, it was horses. Like it was beautiful. I was talking to the rats. Like people don't conceive of this. But when you
Wow.
have a deployment center, yeah, you have the soldiers. The soldiers used to sleep with the horses in the stable. So those horses have a lot of stories to tell.
Oh, sure.
The cats, it's mind-blowing if you open your mind to the animal world when you do this kind of work.
Yeah. Do you I mean, are these animals at peace? If they're like, I feel the presence of my pug that passed away, the last dog I had before Oliver, and I do feel his presence in my house. Like
Yeah,
sometimes when I'm going up the stairs, I feel him walking behind me. It's the
sure.
trippiest thing. But are
Yeah,
they at peace?
yeah.
Like, are they truly at peace even though their spirit's still here?
For sure. So with animals like humans, if they cross over, they can now come and go as they please, right? If
Oh,
they're
okay.
stuck, that's a different story, right? So with animals, because they're very different than we are, they don't carry the same kind of baggage. So nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, an animal is going to cross over very well. And we're going to experience, this is what I tell people. If you have a moment that's completely disassociated to everything, you're washing the dishes, and then all of a sudden that animal pops in your head. You're walking up
Yeah.
the stairs and that animal just pops in your, that's because the
Yeah.
animal's there. It's just there to say
Yeah.
hi, acknowledge it. Right.
Yeah.
The only animals that I've ever seen who are either stuck or unwilling to cross are either animals who were abused or murdered, like humans, or animals who have people that are not well or elderly and they don't want to leave them. In those particular
Oh,
cases, an animal communicator like myself, who can do
yeah.
crossovers, we kind of go in and do grief sessions, not just for the
Oh,
humans, but for the animals. So my thing is my work, although we're talking about humans, I love humans. I love working with them. I work for the spirits. I
yeah.
am their voice. I am the voice of the ancestors. That is my work. Because as much as we want to connect to them, you have no idea how much they want to connect to us. A lot of times
That's
when
so
people
good
come
to
into my
know.
session, it's because a spirit brought them. They're
Oh, wow.
oh, it's time for a
That
psychic
makes so
reading.
much
Oh, I've got it.
sense.
Yeah, it's time for a psychic reading. Oh, I should get a psychic reading. Oh, I really want to talk to my mom. Dude, your mom's the one who's bringing you.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Right?
makes so much sense. Oh my gosh. What do you do in the case of residual hauntings? What if the property is just like that stone tape theory thing? Like what do you do for someone in that? Because I've heard a lot of people say that they've seen they're not able to talk to them because they're not really there. It's just
Yeah.
residual. What do you
Right.
do
So
about
I call that looping, right? So we call
yeah.
that looping. I have a friend, when you bring up looping, they're like, burn the house down, just burn the damn thing down. For me, there can be residual energy, which isn't an actual spirit in the home. It's just, again, it's just that energy key signature. So that's the key signature that's left. So in France, in the Bastille, it's
Mm,
where they used to house the criminals, right? And
yeah.
so there was a story of a young man who was put into a cell when he was like 18 years old for something he did, and he died
Mm,
when he was in his 80s. So think about these little 8 by 8 kind
yeah.
of cells, or 4 by 4 cells, however big they were, and he would just pace back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. This was his
Yeah.
life. This was his everything. And so when he died and they were touring the Bastille, when you walked to this cell, you could actually put your hand inside or walk inside and you could still feel him.
Oh, sure.
Because our energy signature is like our fingerprint. It's individual, right? So when you have these residual energies that are happening in the homes, what we need to do is cleanse and clear them, right?
Yeah.
This is where cleansing comes in. This is where clearings come in. Right. This is not a person who wants to stay. This is just a piece of paint that doesn't want to come off.
Wow.
Right. That's been my experience. And I always say that because, everybody might have their different take on it and everybody might have their different experience. These are mine as an energy worker of, somewhere close to 30 years.
So his spirit is not necessarily in the cell, but his energy print is.
Yes,
Oh,
it's an imprint.
wow.
It's
Yeah.
what we call key signatures, right? It's his energetic
Yeah.
fingerprint. We all
So
have.
that yeah, we do. What's trippy? Like you could walk into a home that experienced a lot of domestic violence or anger or yelling,
That's right.
and like I could feel that in a room. And it's interesting because it does affect the humans that are there. They may
Absolutely.
not realize. So what do you do, Angel, if that's the case? What if the space is just full? So you said clear it,
Yeah, cleansing,
uh,
clearings, that kind of
reach out for help, maybe to do
Yeah.
that as
So
well.
yeah, so there are a lot of different ways you can cleanse and clear your home. If it's just residual energy, look, I'm not going to lie to you. You can go online and find out how to do a sound clearing. You can do something for yourself. You can find music clearings and that kind of stuff. you can do that. But if you don't want to do the work yourself, or you're finding the energy is just not shifting, again,
Yeah.
go to your nearest metaphysical store.
Mm.
You guys know me now, so you can always email me and go, listen, I need a house clearing. It can be done distance. It can be, and even if you find one in Italy or you find one somewhere else, that's okay. Because again, these days, distance clearance can be done. Just make sure they're referred. Make sure you talk to people who they've worked with. It's like anything
Mm.
else. If I hire a contractor, I want to talk to a couple of the people that I have
Absolutely.
met that they've worked with before, to make sure they're doing the work well and that they're actually who they say they are. Why wouldn't you do the same with us? Why wouldn't you do
That's
the
so
same?
true.
And I'm not above that. I've had people call me and say, listen, I know this person that you've worked with, Angel Morgan. What do you think of her? Right.
Mm.
And I'm all for that. I'll even give people names and go, listen, here's a client of mine. She's been a good client for a long time. Go give her a call. Right. And of course, those are clients who've given me permission to do that.
Yeah, of
So do your
course.
homework, right? Do your homework. But cleansings and clearings, a lot of times you should be doing it yourself anyway. So the way I work is, if I go into a home, I'm going to teach the person, my client, how to clear the home. Because if I teach you, then you're not going to need me as much. And my whole thing is, my job is to make me obsolete. My job is to help you
That's a
learn,
good way to look at it. Yeah.
because we're all psychic. We're all
Yeah.
intuitive. And we're in 2026. It
Yeah.
is time for us to start to, to use a new agey term, ascend. It's time for us
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
open up and use our own abilities. And that's my work, is to
Absolutely.
teach you. So when I come and do a
Absolutely.
cleansing and clearing, I'm going to teach you how to do it. So it's like teaching a child how to bathe themselves, right? This is
So
what
true.
we're doing now. And I'm totally cool with that. I have so much fun doing that. But again, if you go to my YouTube station, Angel Morgan, at the bottom, there's a new age section, and there are cleansings and clearings there. There are sound things there. And again, if you want to try it yourself, go for it. If you don't, then yeah, call someone in. Go to your
Yeah.
nearest
Call
medical
someone.
center.
Yeah. I'm all about that. Call someone if you don't want to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
How can we communicate with our pets? Because a lot of folks, like, I have no problem communicating with my dog. I do it 500 times a day.
Mhm,
As a matter of fact, because my dog was abused for the first year of his life,
mhm.
I got him when he was a year old. He's now 8. So we know each other well enough. And one day I got a message from him, and it was, "You worry about my abuse more than I do."
Right.
Like, he was trying to tell me, don't worry about my past abuse. I'm fine now.
Yeah.
Like, and I just got that message, and I'm like, wow, Oliver. Because sometimes I treat him still like an abused baby. I'm still
Right. Right.
coddling him and telling him, poor baby,
And he's going,
what it's
Mom.
right. He's like, enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Animal communications is something, again, we can all do. And there are 4 levels of communication: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. And so every animal, like human, because we are animals, and I consistently say that because we
Yes.
are animals ourselves. And so, animals like humans are mental, physical, emotional, mental. The reality for me is that when we speak to our animals, it's a matter of being quiet.
Yeah.
Like, if you have an animal who's very visual, they're a little keener. Like, this is a whole conversation in itself, of course.
Oh,
But
yeah.
one of the things that I always tell people is that, worst comes to worst, have an imaginary conversation with your animal, knowing that they're not imaginary. Okay.
Right.
And the other thing is create little pictures in your head, or clips in your head, like
Mm.
5-second TikToks or reels of something you want them to do, and put a check mark in it. And
Oh,
likewise,
wow.
show them, if there's something you don't want them to do, create a little reel or TikTok of them doing what you don't want them to do, and put an X in it. So I have lived with various kinds of animals, exotics as well as domestics. And one of the exotics that I work with, or that I lived with, she was all visual because she was part wild. And so
Right.
what I would do is, I would literally, like at the park, she absolutely loves, like, I live with her right now, and she loves to go to the park, but she is so hard to wrangle at the end, because she loves to play. She won't listen. She's got
Right.
her mind. So what
Right.
I do is, I get really quiet, and I show her what I need her to do. And she'll stop, and then she'll keep playing. And I'll go, no. And I'll show
Right.
her what I want, and she'll do it. And now, because we've been doing this for a few months, I've known her for almost a year, but we've been going through this for a few months. Now it's becoming quicker and quicker and quicker. I used to work with my spider the same way. You gave her a visual and boom, she'd do it.
So
Boom.
bugs too.
Yeah. Yeah. My son's specialty is insects. And it's a really interesting thing. When he was a little boy, it was really cool. And I know, I get it. Everybody's told me spiders walk backwards. But what was really interesting is I walked in on him one day. He was a baby and he was playing, and the spider was following his finger backwards. And he goes, look, mommy, look at what I can make the spider do. Right. And he's always had an affection for, like, I could tell you many stories about him. But the reality is that animals, if you understand what level of communication they are, you'll have absolutely no problems in letting them know. But again, worst comes to worst, those two techniques are the easiest ones to work with. Now, if you want to practice animal communications, take a picture of an animal. Okay, this is for everybody out there, everybody, A to Z. Take a picture of an animal, but make sure you can see the eyes clearly. Okay, eyes are the window to the soul. Think of it that way. Place the picture face down. All right. Okay. And this has to be an animal that you either know somewhat well or that kind of thing, or don't know at all even. Okay, maybe it's a neighbor's dog. Face down. Then take a breath, calm yourself, create a good space, have a tequila, whatever. And then what you do is you turn it over, have a piece of paper and pen with you. You turn it over, take a breath, introduce yourself, and start writing. And start writing. What is it that you want to show me? What do you want to tell me? Whatever comes. So this is what I teach. Listen. And this is for any kind of psychic work. Listen. Dismiss nothing that you get. And this is the hard part for people. This is what discerns or defines me versus other people, and me being able to be on stage and other people. Act on it. As long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else, whatever the information is, act on it, right? I have the courage to go up on stage and act on the information I'm getting. That's the only difference, really, because we're always getting this. So you take your piece of paper, you flip it over, you start writing, right? And then you can take that piece of paper and take it to your friend who owns that dog or whatever and have a conversation. In one of my classes, I had a snake named Severus, and he was my baby, and he lived in my son's room. So anyway, this friend of mine, she's become a dear friend. She came to my animal communications class and she goes, I'm getting the weirdest thing about your snake. And I said, well, what are you getting? I said, don't be afraid. She goes, are you sure? And I said, no, really, what are you getting? And she turns around and she goes, I'm sexy and I know it. And I started laughing. Because son, and I caught him doing this, my son would sit in the mirror. He was younger. Okay. He was sitting in the mirror going, I'm sexy and no.
Oh, no way.
Hank would live. So he would watch him do that.
No way. Yeah. And she knew that.
Yeah. And she heard it. She heard it. She wrote it down. She wrote it down. I kid you. It is one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
One of my, I mean, it happened to me. This is what convinced me animal communications was real. I went to the animal communications class and we were put in groups. The teacher gave us, because she knew I was a skeptic, she gave us her turtle. And so I flipped it over and I'm writing and I'm writing something. I'm like, okay, whatever. So she comes to me first and she goes, okay, what'd you get? I'm like, no. And she goes, no, what did you get? I'm like, no. She goes, get up. I'm like, okay. So she goes, what did you hear my turtle say? And I turned around and I said, I actually heard do-de-do-do-do. And my friend shot up and she goes, oh my God, I heard the same thing. And she showed me her paper and she had exact same words.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, there is no way she could have known. Right?
That's incredible. I mean, I totally believe in animal communication. I do it myself. Yeah. But when it comes to bugs, I'm such a hypocrite because I just
hey, we all have our thing. Okay.
Especially
little fish and I don't get along. I don't.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I'll talk to them, but for the most part, I just they find me annoying, and
that's funny.
So it's just a thing, you know. It's just a thing. I think one of my favorite animals to have connected, the most profound animal I've ever connected to is actually whales. I had a profound experience with a whale, and the most annoying, like I said, are probably fish and mosquitoes. So those are the two. Mosquitoes are just a whole level of their own.
Oh, they're awful. They're like Satan's creatures. I just can't.
I'm a very understanding and loving person in any species. issues. But I had an encounter with a mosquito once that just put me over the edge. And I just went,
Oh,
no, I'm not doing that again. Like it put me into a physical space
oh
that
my
I
God.
couldn't even focus. So I just went, no, that's a little too much for me. So I was practicing, I was having fun. So
Well, don't forget too, look at what Bill Gates did to the mosquitoes by bioengineering them and setting them out into the wild. I mean, these things are not normal bugs.
I've never
Oh
even,
my God, you got to Google that.
I will.
He bioengineered to try to get rid of malaria strain. He bioengineered millions of mosquitoes and set them loose all over the country.
Okay, that's just strange.
It's awful. It's god awful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's, and that's why I always I'm very skeptical about bugs because I don't know what they're doing to these things, but they're full of disease and some of them are just, it's like a whole thing, but
We
yeah.
each have our species. Okay. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't know. But that's incredible. That, when you take a different perspective about your pet, because everybody thinks they don't have souls. They think they're soulless. Oh, I've spoken to people that go like, they don't have a soul. What? And I'm like, are you smoking crack? Talking about smoking crack. So it's so good to put that out into the ether that animals are soulful beings. They have the same energies. You can communicate with them. I never thought about snakes and rats like lower level, but yeah, why not? I mean, my kids, when they were young, they had snakes and pets like that, but
Severus was my first snake. He passed away when he was 17, and he was privy to many ceremonies I worked in. And he actually worked within and was blessed by medicine people from Peru. And so when he passed away, I had informed them that he had passed, informed my friends, and they actually did snake ceremony for him.
Oh, wow.
So
That's so
very
beautiful.
Yeah, I've lived a very unique life that's only getting more and more unique as I get older.
Blessings,
And I'm
angel.
so fortunate, and I see that every day. My partner is so wonderful, and he's very much like me. And he's really interesting because he collects like animal skulls and things, and so do I. So on my dining room table every morning, I am blessed to be able to come down the stairs and say good morning to the giraffe skull that sits in my dining room table and the zebra.
Oh my gosh.
And upstairs, for Christmas, my first gift from him was a little monkey skull. And so a lot of people will say to me, how could you as an animal communicator be okay with that? Because this was from a living thing. But who better for them to be with, right?
Yeah.
They have these spirits, and some of them, I will release the spirit. I will always ask them, do you want to move forward, right? But I don't want to bring anybody into my home doesn't want to be there. But some of them will stay, and they'll be like, no, because they know that I'm going to work with them. One of my dogs once gave me a deer's leg, like a petrified deer's leg. Brought it, and it's beautiful. I wish I had it. And it's beautiful. And I use that for ceremonies for people who have been in abusive situations, who are really angry, who have rage, who can't let go.
Wow.
It's representative of gentleness, who can't forgive themselves or forgive for others. So these animals and these parts that I bring in are things that I work with to help others.
Oh, I love that. I don't think that's disgracing. I don't think that's disgracing the animal at all. I think it's honoring the animal because you know what you're doing with it, and you're not, just using it for a showpiece. I mean, you're working with it, and it's a whole different thing. So, in the last few minutes, because typically, and I was explaining this to Angel earlier, my blessings and prayers go out to everybody experiencing this storm, which is most of the country.
Sorry.
And Canada too, I heard, is getting thank you. But I'm a little anxious about it. And I'm usually not. I'm usually okay. But it's funny. My husband passed 4 years ago. And when I had that masculine, thank you. When I had that masculine presence in my home, I felt safe all the time. I think they could have dropped a nuke, Angel, and I would have been like, hey, Joey's here. No worries.
So this is what you do. You put out your left hand. It's called the calling in. You put out your left hand when you're quiet, and you ask for whatever energy is necessary for you and your home to feel safe at all times.
Oh, I'm going to do that.
Masculine energy or others, and then you
Yeah.
wait and you feel that, or just know that it's there, and you place it into the floor of your home. And
Oh,
it will imbue your entire home with the energy you need to feel that safe again.
oh, I'm gonna do that like
For
soon.
everyone out there, that's my final gift to you all.
And we love that, right? Everybody in the comments, we love that. I never thought about doing that. That's great. But it's just weird how um having like a male energy, like I love the male energy
Yeah.
form and the presence of a male. I just do. And so for everybody experiencing
Mhm.
this storm, don't worry, it's all going to be good. We're all going to be fine. But it is a little scary. So typically I love to give my guests 2 hours up to, but I have to run some errands to make sure that we're all good here.
It's okay.
But Angel, we are going to book you back soon.
Good.
That's number one. We love you and your energy. I mean, I can feel it through the screen. I feel an immediate connection to you. And Trippy, while we were in the middle of our discussion, I got a deja vu that blew me away. So,
Oh, I love that. And I love your energy too. You are
oh,
just
thank you.
spectacular. And
Thank
your
you.
viewers, thank you so much for your comments and your questions. You guys were just fabulous, really fabulous.
Yeah, so much true. Like Hillbilly Herb said, I miss my dad so much, was never afraid. Because some people do give us that energy that we need so desperately. But I'm gonna do what you recommended, Angel. And I'm gonna email you some dates because we have to have you back in soon. I know you're busy and you got a lot going
Oh,
on.
I will make time for you.
Good. We love that. But let's talk about your website, rasingenergy.com. You don't have any books out or anything
I
that.
do, in fact. I do have 2 books on Amazon, and I cannot remember what they're called right now, but it's called, one of them is a psychic journal. If you put my name in the author section, they'll both come up. One of them is a notebook that has all kinds of psychic sayings that I've created, that I've lived by. And then the second book goes deeper into those sayings. So the notebook is for you to kind of chart your own, your own journey and that kind of stuff,
Oh,
or just use it for groceries. But it's got the cool little sayings at the top. And then the second one really delves deeply into those sayings. And you can get that at Amazon for sure.
oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It was something that I was doing while I was doing some healing work of my own.
Brilliant. So here's your website. I love your website, by the way.
Oh, thank
You did
you.
such a good job. And I always like to take, a few minutes because you guys, everybody that has a website, including myself, we all know how much work we put in. So I love exploring, folks' websites. So here you've got, okay, we could book a
I never let
reading.
anybody explore my website. This is really cool. This
Of
is
course. Oh, I'm going to have to share that because it popped open into another, which is okay. But anyway, if you click on book a reading, another window will pop open. StreamYard's weird. It lets you do one window at a time. But I'm sure you folks can just click here if you want to book a reading or anything to do with pets, right? You could do animal readings as well.
Yep, I do. And in the reading section, there'll be a section for pet readings if you so choose. So.
Okay, and you've got events and classes too, and you've got your team up here.
Yeah,
you've got testimonials, articles.
Actually, if you go to my website, I'm actually on the 28th. I'm going to be doing something I've never done before, which is a free Zoom 2026 seminar, which is going to be a lot of fun. And these are all the dates for all of my events so far. I do shows in the States as well. I have done them. I just don't know what my day is going to look like. But the New Orleans Paracon is coming up. I believe it's at the end of July. So please go check that out because you can meet me in person. And I would love to meet you guys. It would be so much fun.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really cool. So I do work across the border with my friends and I do a lot of stuff. And all the readings I do are via Zoom. I am global. So anything you see here, you can get virtually. Okay. Yeah.
Brilliant. You're very welcome, Hillbilly. Thanks to everyone in the comments. And look, we've inspired some people to talk more to their dogs. Thank you. Yes, it was great. It was great.
Also, if you want to know really about me and what I do free lives as well. Instagram. at
Ah,
Rasing Energy. That is the place to find everything that I do. I didn't want to forget that. Whether it's a show, whether it's readings, whether it's I drop everything into my Instagram. So please follow me there. That would be phenomenal if you did.
and your tag is raising energy on
Yep.
Instagram, right?
Everything
Yeah,
is Raising Energy.
raising energy. Okay. And you can folks contact you from here? Is
Mhm.
this the best place?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
brilliant.
website, you can use my contact form, or you can go to Instagram either way. But if you're going to book something, book it through the website because we rarely go to the DMs anymore. It's a lot.
Oh,
We've
I
been
have
doing
to
it for
sign up for your newsletter. I didn't see that at the bottom.
Do you have
Brilliant.
one? Do you have one? Because I'll sign up for yours because I would love to know more.
Thank you so much. I on Ethereal Encounters I don't, but my other business I do. But
Okay.
we'll talk. We'll talk. I just want to thank everybody in the comments again. Love you guys dearly. It's always such a joy having you in the chat. Angel, this is synchronicity because
I agree.
I am so thrilled to have met you. You're so full of energy and brilliant information, and we love you already. We love you already.
Well, I love
So
you guys too. So thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Stick around for a minute, okay, Angel? See you in a minute. So yeah, she's freaking awesome. Love her. But yeah, I'm gonna book out early because, like I said, oh, my hair's a disaster. We've got some prepping to do for this freaking storm. But love and blessings to all of you. Stay safe. We will see you next week. Blessings to all of you. Take care, guys. Bye bye.